Mmm, come closer, dear. This one is about two people named Daniel and Mara, 29 and 31, together 4 years. The kind of couple that finished each other's sentences and still meant it. Not habit, not performance, actual knowing. They were taking a weekend away. That was all it was supposed to be. A long weekend on the coast before winter closed the road in. A rented cottage in a fishing town called Thalwick, somewhere small and quiet where Mara could paint and Daniel could sleep properly for the first time in months. Thalwick sat at the edge of the sea and the edge of something else. They did not know about the second thing, not yet. The town looked beautiful when they arrived. Old stone houses curving around a small harbor, fishing boats moored and still, the sea beyond gray and flat and enormous, and on the rocks at the far end of the harbor, the lighthouse, old, white paint peeling, its light not working, or not working yet, dark glass at the top. Mara photographed it from the car window. Daniel watched the fishermen on the harbor wall. They were not doing anything, not mending nets, not talking, not looking at the sea, just standing, facing inland, all of them, perfectly still. He told himself it was nothing. He drove to the cottage. The cottage was warm and the dinner was good, and Mara sketched by candlelight the way she always did when she was happy. Daniel sat by the window. The lighthouse was visible from where he sat. Dark, no rotation, no beam sweeping the sea. But at 11:30, without any warning, the light came on. Not the full rotating beam, something smaller, something in the lamp room. A pale, steady glow like a candle behind glass at the very top. Mara did not see it. Daniel watched it for a long time. When he finally went to bed, the light was still there, still pale, still steady, still watching. In the morning, Mara went to paint on the harbor. Daniel slept later than he meant to. A deep, strange sleep with no dreams he could remember, only the feeling of something sitting at the edge of them. When he found her, she was at her easel on the harbor wall, brush moving, calm. Behind her, a man stood watching, a fisherman, old coat, hands at his sides, standing close, too close, the way you only stand near someone you know well or mean to frighten. And his eyes were wrong. Not the color, not the shape, the quality. The eyes of someone who had let something else in through them. Daniel called her name. She turned. The fisherman's gaze moved to Daniel, and the smile came, the same smile, delayed by exactly the wrong amount of time, the smile that had traveled a long way to arrive. He grabbed her hand and ran. Mara started to protest, her easel, her paints, and then she saw the others. They were coming out of every building on the harbor front. Men, women, the ones who ran the shops and the ones who lived above them, the ones who had nodded good morning an hour ago with ordinary human eyes. All of them moving now with that same dull purpose, that same too still face, that same wrong expression arriving late, all of them converging on the harbor wall, all of them between Daniel and Mara in the cottage. Daniel pulled her the other way, the only way left, toward the lighthouse. The lighthouse door was iron and old and unlocked. Of course it was unlocked. Behind them across the harbor, the town came on, slow, steady, the same unhurried collective movement, the fog that lived at sea level swirling around their feet. No running, no shouting, just the quiet advance of people who were not people anymore and knew that their quarry had nowhere left to go. Daniel shoved the door open. They went in. He threw the bolt behind them. The lighthouse was wrong inside in ways that had nothing to do with the building. The walls were covered, charts, yes, old navigational charts, but marked over in a script that was not any language. Symbols carved into the plaster and written in something dark over the printed lines of the maps. The spiral staircase going up was hung with objects that might have been nautical once. Rope, glass floats, iron hooks, but arranged in patterns that had no practical purpose. They climbed. At the top, in the lamp room, they found the source. Not a machine, not a Fresnel lens. A figure, bound to the iron frame of the old lamp mechanism in chains that had been there so long they had rusted into the metal itself. A shape that had once been human and was no longer. The pale light came from inside it, from its chest, from something that pulsed there like a second heart. It opened its eyes, and in the harbor below, every one of the possessed turned its face toward the lighthouse. The chains broke, not all at once, one then another, then the iron frame itself cracking and bending as the thing inside the figure straightened, and the pale light surged and the glass of the lamp room exploded outward in a ring of white and salt. Daniel was at the top of the stairs. The pressure wave took him off his feet. He fell, not all the way, caught himself on the railing 2 flights down, ribs screaming, the light above him flooding the stairwell, and looked up. The thing stood in the lamp room above, and Mara was still up there with it. Mara had not run. Daniel would think about this for a long time afterward. The fact that she had not run, that when he pulled himself back up those stairs, half-winded and certain she was gone, he found her standing in the center of the lamp room with the broken glass around her feet, and the sea wind coming in through the shattered windows in the entity directly above her, facing it. Her sketchbook open in her hands. She had drawn it. In the 30 seconds she had been alone with it, she had drawn it. The shape of it, the pulse of light in its chest, the chains, the symbols on the walls. Her hand moving the way it moved when she was capturing something she needed to get right before it changed. Daniel stopped on the stairs. He looked at what she had drawn, the symbols on the walls. She had seen the pattern, the thing no amount of staring could see, but the instinct of an artist's eye could catch in a moment. The way they converged, the way they pointed, not to the entity, to the light in its chest. The source was not the entity. The entity was the vessel. She touched it. Daniel made a sound, reached for her. She held up her other hand. Stop. And kept her palm flat against the thing's chest where the pale light pulsed. And it was the steadiness of her that stopped him. Not courage exactly, not bravery, recognition. The look she got when she understood something she was looking at and knew what it needed. The entity looked down at her. The pale light under her hand shifted, from cold white to something warmer, amber, then gold. The pulse changed rhythm, faster, then slower, then something that was almost like breathing, something that had not breathed in a very long time. The light went up, not outward, straight up, through what remained of the lamp room roof, through the dark sky above the coast, a column of gold that hit the clouds and scattered. And in the harbor below, every possessed man and woman dropped to their knees simultaneously, their borrowed expressions dissolving, their own faces surfacing through the blankness like people waking from very deep water. The entity came apart, not violently, quietly. the shape of it softening, the light inside it migrating upward and outward, the thing that had been bound for so long simply releasing, unspooling, going somewhere it had always been trying to get to. And as it went, the lighthouse lamp came on, properly, finally, the way it was meant to. The beam swept the sea for the first time in a very long time. They sat on the floor of the lamp room as dawn came up over the sea. The beam turned behind them, slow, steady, orange in the early light. Mara's hand was shaking. Daniel held it. Below in the harbor, the townspeople moved slowly, dazed, helping each other up from the ground where they had fallen, touching their own faces with confused hands. Nobody came to the lighthouse. Not yet. Daniel looked at Mara's sketchbook on the floor between them. The drawing she had made, the entity, the symbols, the chest, the chains, the things she had understood in 30 seconds that had taken them an entire night to reach. He looked at her. She was already asleep against his shoulder. He let her sleep. They left before anyone thought to ask them questions. The town was ordinary in the morning light. The harbor smelled of salt and diesel and old rope. The fishing boat sat still on the water. The men and women who had come for them in the dark now moved through their mourning with the bewildered, careful movements of people who had lost several hours and could not account for them. Nobody stopped Daniel and Mara. Nobody had the words for what they might have asked. They packed in 10 minutes. Mara took her easel and her paints and did not take the sketch. She left it on the cottage table. She did not say why. Daniel did not ask. They drove north along the coast road with the windows down and the sea on their left, and the lighthouse visible for a long time behind them, its beam still turning in the pale morning light. Mara watched it in the mirror until the road curved and took it away. Daniel drove. After a while she put her hand over his on the gear shift. He turned his palm up and held it. They did not talk for a long time. They did not need to. 2 of them, in and out, still holding the same hand. Humans and their love. It is the one thing that occasionally catches me off guard. I'll be right here when you come back, in my chair, where I always am.